Fraud, that is a major subject in almost every case we work on. Some type of financial fraud, Ponzi scheme, maybe even fraud in a divorce case or a bankruptcy, even corporate fraud where an employee or vendor diverts funds, diverts inventory, commits fraud on the institution. Hi, this is Dave at AFX Search, licensed investigators in Palm Beach, Florida. Here's the good thing about fraud. Many fraudsters, if not most fraudsters, think that the fraud is really all they have to do. In reality, stealing is only the first step of the fraud. So if you are a victim or a potential client, you're in a much better shape than you think you are if you've been defrauded, because the fraud is only the first step. It's not the end of the line. If you are a fraudster or thinking about committing fraud, just keep in mind that the only part that you're concerned about right now is stealing in the first place. The success of your scheme rests on what happens after the money is stolen. Concealing that activity is as important as in getting away with it as the activity itself. Concealing the money is as important to it, and that money or asset or whatever you stole is going to be moved around quite a bit. If you steal cash, you're not going to keep it in one place for the rest of your life. You're going to spend some, you're going to buy things, you may move it to a different account, you may hide it. Every one of those activities creates movement. Those movements create records and footprints, and it may not be bank account records, but they create a record somewhere, even if it's phone records. You better know more than just how to steal if you want to get away with fraud, and most people don't. Remember, there are high-level, multi-hundred-million-dollar narcotics traffickers that do this type of fraud and money handling for a living, and they get caught. And the people who are looking at those, investigators, government agencies, they know how to find this stuff, so it's going to be very simple for them to catch somebody who believes that committing a fraud is just about stealing the money. So if you have a fraud scheme perpetrated against you, what do? Well, an investigator will know what types of footprints, tracks are left by a fraudster in the theft, in preparing for the theft, in getting away with it, hiding the money, and even changes in activities afterwards. Most fraudsters will change very crucial things about their activities that most people won't notice right after the fraud. And I'm not talking about going out and buying a mink coat, although that happens too. I remember in the movie Goodfellas, that was the way that the FBI caught the famous Idlewild Airport heist, where they stole all the money from the airline. After the fact, these people created different activities. Even if you don't go out and buy a mink coat, every fraudster has changes in their life patterns. It may be very slight things that most people would notice. We've seen so many frauds, we know what to look for. A fraudster has zero practice in doing a fraud, even if they've thought it through. This is probably the first time or second time they've done it. They don't have practice in concealing it. Most times, the first time anybody looks at a fraudster's activities, they're going to catch them the first time. Every activity is going to create a footprint. This day and age, it's actually easier because electronic records are ubiquitous. Everything you do is tracked electronically. Where you go is tracked by your phone, GPS. Your phone calls are tracked. Your downloads are tracked, emails are tracked, everything is tracked. The IP addresses where you get your emails is tracked. So all that information, electronic information, can be discovered and used to find out what happened with the fraud, what the flow of funds were, what the communications with one person to another were. Even if they're not in on the fraud, a fraudster needs other people to help them, even if the other people don't know it. So remember, the success of the fraud rests on what they do after the fraud. Most fraudsters think that once they have the money and it's in their hands, they're done, and they lower their guard and they rest on their laurels. That's when we catch them, and that's when we get your money back. So a fraud is a lot easier to catch than you would think. In this day and age, it may not be public sector law enforcement that is the best source of that. Private sector is a big source of cracking these cases, and then the law enforcement will prosecute the crime criminally. But the main thing is you want to get your money back. If the person who stole your money goes to jail, but you still are out the money, that doesn't do you much good otherwise, other than maybe make you feel a little bit better. But you want to get your money back, and then you can decide whether or not that person belongs in jail or not after you get your money back.